Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? What is good? The king of lighting is here today, bringing you guys and gals One Piece. Whoa. Chapter 858 and 859 review. There'll be two links in the box below for the live reactions to these chapters. Listen, man, my nose right now is puff central for some reason. Like the left side, oh my god, dude, the puff is strong. Huff and puff, but I ain't blowing any houses down, and it hurts too. It's like, I don't know. I woke up this way. It sucks. Right? It sucks massively. Either way, all right. Enough of my problems. Let's talk about One Piece. Let's talk about Capone. Let's talk about Clown. Let's talk about the plan to kill Big Mom. Let's talk about Giants. Let's talk about Monkey D. Luffy. Let's talk about One Piece War. First chapter, chapter 858 review. First of all, the pacing and the structure. We have roughly like 6 parts. Most of them are actually really short. So you have the beginning of the chapter, where you have the wedding cake that is apparently done, but we don't really see it. The wedding cake being cooked by the head cooking chef Streusel of the Big Mom Pirates. Then after that, briefly, we go over to Peckham's, and Peckham's is being tended to by, I think his name is Aladdin or Aladdin, something like that, and Parline, or Parline, whatever her name is, in the coastal areas of Whole Cake Island. And basically, Peckham's can't leave, for obvious reasons. Then after that, we have Luffy and Sanji arriving at the fire tank base in Whole Cake Island. Then we have the bath time with Nami, with Carrot. We have them talking to Chiffon about Lola and about various things. Why Big Mom and the Giants are not on good terms, and so on and so forth. Very important stuff there. Then after that, we have a bit of Brook and Luffy, where, like, bro, drinking milk and restoring bone structure in an instant. Absolutely ridiculous. And finally, for part 6, it is the main meat of the chapter, which is the meeting between Luffy, Capone, and then Castino, who is Caesar Clown. That is the chapter from a structure/pacing standpoint. Most of the parts are relatively short, with the exception of the final part and the Nami and the Carrot and the Chiffon bath scene stuff. So when it comes to the structure and the pacing of the chapter, even though there are a lot of parts, most of them are relatively small, so it's not too chaotic. The main focus Oda clearly defines as the Nami bath scene stuff, talking about the Giants and Loki and whatnot and Lola, and then the meeting between Capone, Caesar, and Luffy. So overall, I'm going to say the chapter structure and the pacing was good. Now, shifting gears to the characterization and the character development standpoint of the chapter, no character development, but we do have some characterization here for a few characters. Number 1, we have Streusel, the head cooking chef of the Big Mom Pirates. We get to see what he looks like, because I don't think we've seen him before. Maybe we have seen him before, but like briefly. But now we know who he is at least. He has made the wedding cake. We have folk singing, and then it gets to him. So the guy seems to be fairly emotional. So my assumption, I can't guarantee it's the case, but my assumption is that he gets his way all the time when it comes to tea parties. So briefly, we do have that characterization for this character. Next, we have Chiffon, who basically describes why she doesn't like Big Mom and why she's okay with her husband B taking out Big Mom and why she's on the Fire Tank Pirate side here. Basically, after talking about what happened with Lola and how Big Mom tried to pawn her off in Lola's stead, and the Giants found out about that, and so they resented Big Mom for that. Big Mom shifted a lot of her anger towards her because she looks like Lola. Now, Lola, if she came to the island, we know that she'd be executed, but we also do know that when it comes to Chiffon herself, she suffered a lot of abuse at the hands of Big Mom. According to her, I believe it was specifically Black and Blue, where the wounds didn't heal for like years. Something crazy like that. Basically, because of her mistreatment, she has no qualms with Beige, with Luffy, with Capone, with Caesar Clown taking out Big Mom. She's all on board. You can kind of say that Parline is in the same lines, because Parline, no matter what, she's gonna stick with her husband. Moving on from that, we have finally a characterization of Biffer Capone as well, where basically Capone, he wants you to be fresh and clean. So fresh and so clean. He wants you to be nice and neat when you present yourself before him. He won't meet you if you're dirty. Take a shower. In this case, Nami, they do that and then some. Given Oda's writing style, no surprise that he didn't skip a Nami bath scene, a Nami shower and Nami bath scene. And he threw in carrot as well, obviously, to appease a certain fan base. Oh, shit. Finally, for characterization, I'll throw in Loki as well. Even though we don't get to see Loki's face, we do know that he does like Lola's look for some odd reason. That look appeals to him. He is a prince of Elbaf, and that's really it there. So mainly when it comes to this section of the review for this chapter, there's no character development, only characterization. And characterization, it's not really that strong, with the exception of, let's say, Chiffon, who explains that she was beaten black and blue, and her wounds didn't even heal for years. And because of her mistreatment at the hands of her own mother, she has no qualms with her husband and company trying to take out her mom. So that is the biggest section of characterization for the chapter. But nonetheless, characterization, I think, is still the weak part of this chapter. Overall, subpar plus the okay for characterization and character development. Finally, moving on to the story progression. This is where things get pretty big during the bad scene stuff. So we do know that the wedding cake is pretty much done or almost done. We get that at the first page of the chapter. Then moving on to page 2, where basically Peckham's, he's being, if you would, detained by the fishmen because they understand that Peckham's, if he goes out, he's going to cause some problems for Jinbei and company because he is still a member of the Big Mom Pirates. He has no intention of betraying Big Mom, as far as we understand. And so they're going to keep him here because Peckham's is like a pseudo ally. Like, he's in between. He's in a very awkward place. He would be allies, friends, if you would, of Luffy, Jinbei, and company. He is a mink. He does owe the Straw Hats for saving his country against the hands of Jack the Drought. On top of that, the fisherman did save him from Capone. But at the same time, Jinbei, Luffy, they're going to be on Capone's team to take out Big Mom. So Peckham is in a very awkward place. So better keep him away from the action. That's number one. And also, there is some stuff going on in the port area where the fishermen are. So my guess here, can't really say it's confirmed, but my guess here is that the fishermen are also going to be playing a part in this as well when it comes to assisting Luffy and company in killing Big Mom, because Jinbei is a member of this squad as well, and he is the captain of the Sun Pirates. So moving on from that, we have the bad stuff. Whoa, first of all, Elbaf. The fact that a prince is named Loki, one has to be Thor, King Odin. Ragnar Lothbrok is an epic warrior. Like, I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be crazy. Because we have Prince Loki, we now can safely assume the giants of Elbaf are centered around Vikings and Norse mythology. That, I think, is clear as day. I like that. It's cool as all hell. There were hints previously when it came to Dory and Bragi, the fact that you have Heidrun using an attack called Gungnir, and now finally we have Prince Loki. So I think it's very obvious now. We all know when Elbaf hits, we are going to Valhalla. We are going to Valhalla. And that's cool, man. That's number one. Number two, the fact that Big Mom had problems with the giants before Loki liked Lola. Why that is, we still don't know. We can throw our guesses here and there, but that is very fascinating. Big Mom had problems with the giants before, and tensions only got worse. So they were already bad, now they got worse, especially when they tried to pawn off Chiffon and Lola's stead. All the giants in the world, quote-unquote, hate Big Mom. Number three, again, Loki liked Lola, and then Lola left anyway because she wanted to go off on her own and marry someone that she actually wanted to marry. When Big Mom stated that if not for Lola, I would have become Pirate King, that's because, number four, she would have had access to the strongest country in the world. Quote-unquote, the strongest country in the world. That is a very impressive claim. And that claim comes from the army of giants in Elbaf. The Germa themselves are renowned for being this evil, mythical army. And we see that their soldiers are basically pawns. They are clones. They can die on the spot. They have meat walls when they so choose to. And their army is feared across the world. The same thing applies for Kano Kuni as well as Wano Kuni. Mainly Wano Kuni, because Wano Kuni is isolated. Even though we know that chaos has arisen there because of Kaido and the Shogun, the samurai of Wano Kuni have been famous for generations. But even despite all of that, the number one army is in Elbaf. The number one, man. Raise that finger high. the #1. And that's because you have an army of giants. And we've seen how powerful giants are in various forms, whether it comes in the form of Broggy and Dory, whether it comes in form in Hydruden, whether it comes in form of like the marine giants that took on Whitebeard, Oimo, Akashi. We've seen the strength of the giants. So imagine an army of these guys. Whoa. That is scary. Just like Wano, it looks like they really don't need the help of the world government, of any marine bases, that kind of stuff. Whatever issue comes their way, they can handle. Though, my guess here is because this is a reoccurring One Piece theme, when Luffy and company do go to Elbaf, there probably will be major issues when it comes to the structure of the Elbaf Kingdom that Luffy and company have to fix. It's a One Piece motif that is constant. There is always something wrong in the island or islands that they go to on their journey that the Strat crew have to fix inevitably. That is a One Piece standard, clear cut and dry, with very, very few exceptions. Elbaf may be among those exceptions, but I doubt it. And when you have someone named Prince Loki, if there is some chaos, he may be the focal point of that chaos in Elbaf. But that being said, for the story, very important stuff right there, because we're talking about a crucial island that's been hyped up just as much, if not even more, than Wano Kuni, and their connection with one of the most powerful individuals in the world, Yonko Big Mom. Moving on from there, we have a bit of wacky stuff involving Luffy and Brook drinking milk to restore their original bone structures. It's like maybe it's some like Saman Keegan stuff, but it was just way too fast. It was like instant. Like my face is cracked here, like literally almost split apart. Fixed. Lost a tooth, a whole tooth, regrown. What? Even if it was Saman Keegan, it was like, nigga. And plus it's Brook. How can Brook do that? Luffy, okay, fine. Brook, no. That's some wacky Toon Force stuff. It's out of this world. It was, they took a sip of milk, we're good to go. Like, you only see that kind of stuff in Tom and Jerry. I shit you not. Now, finally, the last part of the story is going to be Capone, Luffy, and Caesar Clown. Gastino, so the guy with the tall hair, spiky hair, was Caesar Clown. I didn't see that coming, but he was saved by Capone. That was mainly done off screen, but we do get to have a small little flashback of that, and how he was given Caesar Clown's heart because Beige is a trusted rook. So he saved Caesar Clown from the factory to team up to assassinate Big Mom. And Luffy says, all right, well, before that, let me punch you. Capone's like cool with me. That causes some chaos. Why it's cool with Capone, I will talk about that later in a separate video. And then finally, you have Jinbei bring them together like, listen, you guys like Big Mom? All three of them, no? All right, that's what we call an alliance. So what's the plan? And they buckle down for the plan. So at the end of the chapter, they're able to throw aside their qualms and their issues because they have a common goal of decimating the big bitch. That being said, this chapter 858, when it comes to the story progression, I thought it was strong. I thought it was great because, again, you have the Elbaf stuff. When it comes to the meeting stuff, that's kind of important in the sense that the meeting is starting, but they haven't discussed any plan of action just yet when it comes to taking out Big Mom. So when it comes to the story progression of this chapter, I would say overall that gets a good plus, mainly because of the Elbaf stuff. So that being said, when it comes to this chapter of One Piece, chapter 858, the overall rating is going to be a good, because once again, you do have, in my personal opinion, solid story progression. You have somewhat low average characterization, but you do have good pacing and good structure. So once again, the chapter rating is going to be a good. Now, moving on to the next chapter of One Piece, chapter 859. Now, when it comes to this chapter, first and foremost, of course, the pacing and the chapter structure, we have relatively 4 parts that are actually it's a lot simpler than the previous chapter from a pacing standpoint. So we have the main meat, which is the dialogue between Luffy, Beige, and Caesar Clown about how they're going to be killing Big Mom, what her weakness is, what is the signal, what tool we're going to be using, and so on and so forth. That kind of stuff is the main meat of the chapter. Then we go over to events across Toland in like the Cheese Town and like the Nuts Land, that kind of stuff. People anticipating the wedding, people celebrating, and so on and so forth. Then we shift over to Big Mom herself, who was woken up, and she sees Brook is no longer moving. And in classic One Piece fashion, she's oblivious to the fact that that's no longer Brook. But in her mind, it doesn't really matter because wedding cake, yay! And she's excited. Then finally, we end off with Pudding, and we see her in her wedding dress, and even though she looks beautiful, she is still a cold-hearted, ruthless bitch, and she has to alter people's minds in order to make sure that she's still perceived as a good girl ultimately, and that's the chapter structure and the pacing. This I thought was relatively okay, not as good as the previous chapter, but overall nonetheless okay. Now, when it comes to the characterization, we have some stuff here. So first and foremost, when it comes to Big Mom. Big Mom is an iron balloon, according to Capone and company. Now, this is something that was kind of hinted to when we saw Big Mom like rampaging across the town when she was in one of her states, when she needed sweets, when she wanted some croquet mouge, I think it was. She was destroying all these things, and there wasn't a scratch on her. Her defense is phenomenal. And the only way to actually weaken that defense, as far as Capone knows, is the Mother Caramel photo. Now, the Mother Caramel photo, the history of it, we're not too sure exactly, but apparently Mother Caramel is a saver for Big Mom. At some point in the past, she saved Big Mom from whatever. She disappeared some time ago. She's not dead. She disappeared. Apparently, during a previous tea party, someone knocked over the photo, and then Big Mom went into like a fit, like a crazy rage. She started to yell and scream, and during that process, she used her Conqueror's Haki. Folks started passing out. She dropped to her knees, and she scraped her knees, so she bled. And that was the first time most of the folks there have seen Big Mom bleed. The weakness here is when you knock over that photo of Mother Caramel, she receives some kind of shock and trauma. It's probably an emotional thing, though it could be a death-related thing as well. Again, I will say that for a separate video, but the fact of the matter is that the reaction that we get from that is her scraping her knees, and then she is wounded. So that is another component for her character as well. Now, that being said, Big Mom holds the lion's share of the characterization for this chapter, because most of the plan that Capone has devised is working around some of the physical attributes of Big Mom. Also, for characterization, we do have Capone. Not really a lot, because we have seen a few things here that before with Capone. We have seen, for example, I believe we have seen at least, where his kid would cry and be like, "Oh my God, Daddy's talking right now." Like I think we have seen that before. I could be wrong about that, but if not, then we'll tack that on just in case. We have the fact that Capone, he has formulated a plan to take out Big Mom. Granted, it's probably something that he's thought up for a while now, considering how he knew Big Mom's weakness. So how to exploit that weakness, when to do so. Now's his chance to do so, now that he has Caesar Clown as well as Luffy working with him. And on top of that, it is the fact that if they fail, he understands that if they fail, they're all going to be swarmed in a fight that they're going to ultimately lose. But he's not worried about it. Note that. He's not worried about that at all. He's just like, yeah, if we fail, then we're going to be packed and we're going to have a 0% chance in winning this all-out war. But he's like kind of smiling, and it's like, so this guy, he's kind of fearless. But these are things I think we've seen before to various degrees, and this chapter is no different from the other chapters in that sense. So I would say it's characterization, but again, because we've seen before in various degrees in the past, let's just say it's not that big of a deal when it comes to characterization, nor near on the same tier as Big Mom's characterization. That's for sure. Caesar Clown really gets none. I mean, we do get to see this new weapon that he devised, the poison gas bullet KX launcher, and it delivers or I forgot what it was, but like an organic phosphate type of poison that goes to the body and pretty much kills the person relatively quickly. Caesar Clown has a pretty powerful weapon, and from that standpoint, it's not really surprising at all, given what we've seen in the past before when it comes to Caesar Clown. Characterization for Caesar Clown, little, like even smaller than Capone, honestly. Luffy, fearless in his dumb usual way. Then we go over to Pudding, where Pudding, again, in the dress, looks great, looks good, but she's still an evil bitch. Not changing in that respect. So for characterization, again, the lion's share, the clear lion's share, the main meat here is Big Mom. Other characters do get some, but not even close to Big Mom. And from that standpoint of characterization, it's very important that we get more intel on Big Mom and her powers and how we're going to work around that. Very important stuff. And Mother Caramel as well, very crucial shit. So from that standpoint, good characterization. Unlike in the previous chapter where the lion's share of characterization was Chiffon, who is kind of important, but again, nowhere near as important as the insane big bitch. Finally, when it comes to the story progression of this chapter, everyone knows what their role is. They know the plan. You're going to have Capone be the ones to assassinate. You're going to have Luffy Company be the ones to save. The mirror is going to be used on the part of Caesar Clown to have everyone accept to the mirror world. The weapon's already there. If there's going to be a monkey wrench in the plan, it's gonna be Brûlé, because Brûlé, I don't think that thing's gonna go completely on board when it comes to their escape. They may actually tag Big Mom with that weapon, but when it comes to the escape, it's not gonna be that easy. At some point, whether it's gonna be Caesar Clown, whether it's gonna be Luffy, because Luffy, he may just fuck things up entirely, because he's Monkey D. Luffy. Someone is going to mess up something. But who fails what, we'll see. Either way, it's gonna be all kicked off when Pudding fires the bullet at Sanji. Sanji dodges the bullet, which given his speed is ridiculously easy. Dodge the bullet, and then once that happens, they'll all be shocked. That's when the photo gets knocked over. Big Mom sees that, she freaks out. They're all stunned for like 5 seconds. They can't move. That's when they fire the launcher at Big Mom, and then that's when they bail. That's the plan in a nutshell. Again, it's all laid out, but once that bullet fires and Sanji dodges it, something is going to flop. Guarantee you that. Then, after that, we get to see what's going on across Totland. Not really a big deal, except for Big Mom herself. We do get to see Germa. I forgot about that. We do get to see Germa for a bit. So let me type that on for the chapter structure as well. Yonji's still sleeping. Judge, Ichiji, and Niji, they're getting dressed. We don't see Reiju as well, but that's really it. Army men of Germa, they're excited because it's, of course, a big day for the Vince Smoke. They have Big Mom. Big Mom's like, wedding cake, yay. Brooke asks for him. He's dead. Pudding just looking good. From a story standpoint, it's prep for the wedding, but the main thing for the plan to assassinate Big Mom is in the first section, like the first 12 or 13 pages of the chapter. And that's the lion's share of the story progression, and overall, that was good as well. So the chapter overall, I'm going to say is okay plus to good, and I'm going to leave it at that. So King Lightning, all the chapters are laid out for the review. I have discussion videos to do. They will come out, but beforehand, before the video's over, there is something that you can do as viewers. If you made it this far, congratulations, you're awesome. But to be even more awesome, you can do this thing called clicking. Oh my god! Rate the video utilizing the mouse. Rate the video, of course. Please. Don't be lazy. Click. Rate the video, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace, and I will see you cats later. Have a nice goddamn day.